So, a lot of people, myself included, have made eating healthier as their New Year's resolution. But the thing to keep in mind is that eating healthy really goes far beyond just weight loss, but rather improving your diet can actually improve your cognition, decrease bloating and gas, as well as improving blood sugar and blood pressure levels. It can also help your immune system, so getting sick less often throughout the year, and it can actually even decrease your frequency of headaches. As someone who gets a lot of headaches myself, I found that changing my diet around has really been a key way to manage these frequency and intensity of headaches. Final thing that eating healthy can improve is also your sleep quality. Something that researchers are actually finding is that sleeping 8 hours per night is actually one of the best factors you can do for your health in the long run. So a lot of times, diet is going to be about consistent changes over time. But how can you improve your diet instantly with 3 changes you can start today by going to the grocery store and getting these 3 things? Well, the first thing I would recommend, add a probiotic and prebiotic food to your diet. So, how do these probiotic and prebiotics work? Essentially, they're acting on the gut brain axis. So, the gut's bacteria, especially the good gut bacteria, can synthesize these short chain fatty acids, which in turn can increase the synthesis of neurotransmitters such as serotonin. There's some very interesting research that points out this gut brain connection, and I'll link all the articles in the description down below for your reading. Typically, for probiotic foods, yogurts, kefir, kombucha, and probiotic supplements, these are the ones that have the most variety of good bacteria. For prebiotic foods, sauerkraut and kimchi are great prebiotic foods. These feed those good bacteria in your guts and help those bacteria to really thrive. 2 other foods I'd recommend is garlic and barley, as the fiber in barley tends to be a really good prebiotic food for that good bacteria. The second thing I'd recommend is try to add more olive oil to your diet, ideally about 2 tablespoons of olive oil per day. So in order to understand why olive oil is beneficial, we have to talk a little bit about the chemistry. So olive oil is a monounsaturated fatty acid. So mono meaning one, unsaturated meaning it's liquid at room temperature. And essentially what this does, monounsaturated fatty acids like olive oil, they have an extremely beneficial cardioprotective effect, meaning it protects your heart function as well as your arteries. Another way olive oil does this is through polyphenols. These are antioxidants in the olive oil that reduce that oxidative stress on your body. There's some very interesting research published in Frontiers in Nutrition. So this study actually looked at 1,567 participants in Spain and followed them for 18 years. And what they found was that higher olive oil consumption, 2 tablespoons or more every single day, was associated with a lower risk of cardiovascular disease and all-cause mortality. You're going to want to avoid the fake olive oil. So what do I mean by fake olive oil? A lot of times if you go to the store and you get extra virgin olive oil, even if it doesn't list any other ingredients, sometimes the company, if it's a bad company, will switch some of that olive oil for other vegetable oils or fillers. So the best way to avoid this is by finding a high quality, ideally locally sourced olive oil brands that you can use. And you can just add like a tablespoon into your salad, soup, or even yogurts. Another thing to point out is that 2 tablespoons is a substantial amount of olive oil. So we're not talking about those little teaspoons here. My third recommendation is going to be eating more fruit in your diet. So as we talked about in other videos, but fruits are packed with these phytonutrients. Something that people point out a lot is the sugar in fruit a concern, because many fruits out there are packed with a lot of sugar when you look at the nutritional info. So there's a very interesting research published in Frontiers in Endocrinology. So they did a meta-analysis of 19 randomized controlled trials. And what they actually found was that fruit consumption is associated with improved fasting blood sugar levels. So it actually did the opposite of what people thought it would, and it improved the blood glucose levels. What are some of the ways that the fruit does this, given that it has so much sugar in it? Well, first of all, the fiber in fruit improves digestion as well as regulating those blood glucose levels, which they saw in the study. Another aspect about fruit is that they're packed with these phytonutrients and polyphenols. These nutrients essentially have antioxidant properties. They essentially balance mitochondrial oxidative stress. And help with something called cellular redox homeostasis. Essentially, they're helping those cells to maintain that balance from the oxidative stress coming from other factors. Another thing they found with these polyphenols is that they have antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, and even anti-cancer properties. And this is all coming from fruit you can get in the grocery store. Now, what about dried fruits? Dried fruit can actually be good in a little bit of moderation. The thing to watch out for is if you think about it, if you get like a little box of raisins, there's probably like 100, 200 raisins in that single small box. Now, if you imagine eating 100 grapes in one sitting, that would be ridiculous. That's like a whole gigantic bowl of grapes. But a little box of raisins, you can eat that in probably 1 or 2 bites if you really wanted to. So just be really careful about the portions if you're going for the dried fruits. It can be quite concentrated compared to the whole fruits, but just a very small amounts in moderation can be okay in your diets. Typically for fresh fruits, I would recommend to wash it very well, at least 30 seconds underwater, because a lot of times fruit can contain pesticides. So you're going to want to be really careful to wash everything off that you don't want to eat. I would also recommend frozen fruits as a good alternative because they're very easy to eat. I like frozen blueberries, cherries, and mangoes. These are great because there's no prep needed. You kind of just open the bag and you can pour them into a bowl and it's already ready to eat. So as someone who doesn't really like chopping too much, these can be a really good alternative because it's kind of just right in your fridge, and instead of grabbing the ice cream, you can just go for a frozen fruit, and it's a very good alternative to that. So hopefully some of these tips are helpful. Let me know in the comments if you have any recommendations for how to keep your New Year's resolutions for this year, and I hope to see you all in the next video.